Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to bring your attention to a critical mistake that millions are unknowingly making at the breakfast table. A mistake that could silently accelerate muscle loss, weaken your immune system, and age your body faster than you think. Eggs, often overlooked as a dietary powerhouse, are actually among the most complete and efficient protein sources available to us. Each egg contains all 9 essential amino acids, including leucine, which is particularly important for muscle protein synthesis. This makes eggs an incredibly effective tool for maintaining and rebuilding muscle, especially as we age or face conditions that naturally reduce lean muscle mass. The quality of protein in eggs ranks very high on the biological value scale, meaning our bodies are able to absorb and utilize it efficiently. When consumed properly, eggs can help combat sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass, and contribute significantly to strength, mobility, and overall resilience. In addition to their protein content, eggs offer a complex mix of vitamins and nutrients that support not just muscle health, but total body function. Choline, for instance, is a nutrient found in abundance in eggs and plays a crucial role in cell membrane integrity, nerve signaling, and even liver function. For individuals looking to optimize muscle performance and recovery, nutrients like vitamin D found in egg yolks are essential for calcium metabolism and muscular function. Vitamin B12 is critical for red blood cell production and oxygen transport, both of which impact endurance and muscle function. Eggs are also a rich source of antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, which are better known for supporting eye health, but also have systemic anti-inflammatory effects. Chronic inflammation is a silent contributor to muscle breakdown. By addressing inflammation through nutrient-dense foods like eggs, one can slow down the degenerative processes that often accompany aging or metabolic disease. This isn't about trendy nutrition, it's about biochemistry. The compounds found naturally in eggs work at the cellular level to enhance mitochondrial function, improve energy metabolism, and reduce oxidative stress, all of which preserve lean tissue. What often gets ignored is the satiety factor eggs provide. Unlike carbohydrate-rich meals that lead to a rapid spike and crash in blood sugar levels, a meal centered around eggs provides sustained energy, reduces cravings, and promotes hormonal balance, particularly in hormones related to appetite regulation like ghrelin and leptin. When hunger is managed, it becomes easier to control weight and fat accumulation, both of which are closely tied to muscle preservation. Excess body fat often leads to systemic inflammation, which further accelerates muscle loss. Eating eggs can thus create a metabolic environment that favors muscle retention rather than degradation. The versatility of eggs makes them an accessible option for nearly everyone. Whether boiled, poached, or scrambled with whole food ingredients, they serve as a foundation for a meal that supports physical longevity. But the key lies in context. Consumed alone or with anti-inflammatory foods, eggs support optimal function. But their benefits can be reversed if combined with processed, high-sugar foods that trigger harmful metabolic cascades. Understanding the inherent value in eggs allows us to harness their full potential, not just for muscle, but for health at every level. The issue isn't the egg itself, it's what we eat alongside it. Eggs, when consumed alone or paired with nutrient-dense anti-inflammatory foods, can offer a host of benefits for muscle health, metabolism, and overall vitality. But when eggs are combined with certain common food items, particularly processed carbohydrates and sugary options, they lose their protective edge and may instead contribute to the very decline we're trying to prevent: accelerated muscle loss. This problem is especially evident at breakfast, which has become a routine nutritional hazard for many people. Consider the typical plate: scrambled eggs served with buttered white toast, sugary pancakes, jam, syrup, or a glass of orange juice. These may seem harmless or even balanced, but metabolically, this combination introduces a rapid influx of refined carbohydrates and sugar. The body responds with a sharp insulin spike in an attempt to manage the sudden surge in glucose. Over time, repeated exposure to these insulin surges leads to insulin resistance, a condition that not only contributes to diabetes and cardiovascular disease, but also interferes with the body's ability to maintain lean muscle. Muscle tissue is incredibly sensitive to insulin. In a healthy state, insulin helps shuttle amino acids into muscle cells, supporting repair and growth. But in a state of insulin resistance, that process breaks down. Amino acid uptake becomes impaired. The signal for muscle protein synthesis weakens. Instead of rebuilding tissue, the body begins breaking it down. This is why the combination of eggs with high sugar, high glycemic foods is so detrimental. It creates a metabolic environment that favors muscle catabolism over anabolism. Additionally, many of these food combinations introduce inflammatory agents. Refined carbohydrates and added sugars are known to activate inflammatory pathways, increasing levels of cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. Chronic low-grade inflammation damages muscle fibers and reduces mitochondrial function, which diminishes strength and endurance over time. Eggs, when consumed as part of this kind of meal, cannot counteract this inflammatory damage. Their benefits become diluted or entirely reversed by the inflammatory impact of what they're served with. What's equally concerning is the psychological pattern that forms around these meals. High sugar combinations tend to encourage overeating, craving cycles, and energy crashes. This leads to additional poor food choices later in the day, perpetuating metabolic dysfunction. Over time, the cumulative effect is a loss of muscle mass, an increase in visceral fat, and an elevated risk for metabolic syndrome, all stemming from an imbalanced meal structure that began with eggs paired incorrectly. This is not a call to fear eggs. It's a reminder to contextualize them properly. They are powerful, but not invincible. The value of eggs depends largely on what they're eaten with. When combined with refined carbs and sugars, they become part of a harmful cascade. When paired with vegetables, healthy fats, or fermented foods, they become a tool for healing and strength. The choice lies not just in eating eggs, but in eating them wisely. When refined carbohydrates enter the body, especially in the form of white bread, sugary cereals, or sweetened beverages, their digestion is rapid and their effect on blood glucose is immediate. This sharp rise in blood sugar prompts the pancreas to release a surge of insulin. Insulin's primary job is to shuttle glucose into cells for energy or storage. In moderation and under the right conditions, this is a perfectly normal and necessary process. But in the modern diet, where refined carbs are consumed in excess and often multiple times a day, insulin is called upon again and again until the body starts to resist its effects. This state, known as insulin resistance, is at the root of many chronic conditions, but one of the less recognized consequences is its role in promoting muscle loss. Healthy muscle tissue is highly sensitive to insulin, which is one of the key hormones involved in the transport of amino acids into muscle cells. These amino acids are the raw materials needed for muscle repair and growth. When insulin signaling is efficient, muscles are able to recover after physical activity, regenerate after injury, and maintain strength even with aging. But when insulin resistance develops, the ability of muscle cells to take in amino acids and glucose becomes impaired. The result is a gradual shift toward muscle breakdown or catabolism. This is particularly troubling for older adults or individuals under stress, where muscle loss is already a concern due to natural hormonal shifts and reduced activity levels. Add insulin resistance into the mix, and the body begins to favor the breakdown of muscle tissue for energy, especially during periods of fasting or illness. This breakdown becomes more pronounced when meals are structured around processed carbs with little protein or healthy fat to balance the glycemic response. In these cases, the insulin spike is not counterbalanced by the stabilizing presence of nutrients that slow digestion and promote muscle protein synthesis. The problem compounds when such meals are consumed at breakfast, arguably one of the most critical meals of the day. Starting the day with a spike in insulin sets the tone for unstable blood sugar throughout the day, leading to energy crashes, increased hunger, and further poor choices. Worse still, it blunts the anabolic signals the body relies on in the morning to build and preserve muscle tissue. Eggs are often seen as a protective food because of their complete amino acid profile and their ability to stimulate muscle growth. But when consumed alongside refined carbohydrates, the benefits of eggs are blunted. The insulin spike not only disrupts nutrient absorption, but can also interfere with muscle signaling pathways like mTOR, which are essential for muscle repair. It becomes clear then that avoiding refined carbs isn't just about controlling weight or blood sugar. It's about preserving one of the most metabolically active and protective tissues in the body, skeletal muscle. When meals consistently drive insulin high through the inclusion of processed carbs, the body's ability to maintain and build muscle is slowly eroded, increasing vulnerability to aging, disease, and fatigue. When food is exposed to high temperatures during cooking, especially in the presence of sugars and fats, a chemical reaction occurs between proteins and sugars known as the Maillard reaction. While this process gives browned and crispy foods their appealing flavor and color, it also produces compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These molecules, once absorbed into the body, are far from harmless. AGEs have been linked to oxidative stress, inflammation, and tissue damage at the cellular level. In the context of muscle health, this is particularly concerning as AGEs play a significant role in the acceleration of sarcopenia, the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength that occurs with aging. AGEs interfere with the structural integrity of muscle tissue by cross-linking with proteins such as collagen and actin, leading to stiffer, less flexible muscle fibers. This rigidity reduces functionality, increases the risk of injury, and impairs the muscle's ability to repair itself after stress or exercise. Over time, these changes contribute to a noticeable decline in strength, mobility, and endurance. The presence of AGEs also stimulates the production of reactive oxygen species and pro-inflammatory cytokines, such as TNF-alpha and IL-1T. These inflammatory signals disrupt anabolic pathways like mTOR, which are responsible for triggering muscle protein synthesis. The end result is a cellular environment that favors breakdown over repair. What's often misunderstood is that the formation of AGEs is not limited to sugar-laden desserts or deep-fried snacks. It can occur in seemingly healthy meals, especially when protein-rich foods like eggs are combined with refined carbohydrates and cooked at high temperatures. For example, a breakfast sandwich made with processed bread, cheese, and fried eggs may deliver a high load of AGEs, even though each individual component may not appear harmful in isolation. It's the cooking method and the food combination that matters. When eggs are cooked gently, such as poached or boiled, their contribution to AGE formation is minimal. But when fried in oils or served with sugary syrups, pastries, or processed meats, the cumulative burden of AGEs can rise significantly. AGEs don't just impact skeletal muscle. Their harmful effects extend to blood vessels, kidneys, and even the brain. But in the realm of muscle preservation, their role is especially damaging because of how they affect insulin sensitivity and mitochondrial efficiency, both critical for maintaining lean tissue. Additionally, individuals with diabetes or metabolic syndrome are already at a disadvantage as their bodies naturally form more AGEs due to elevated blood sugar levels. Introducing dietary AGEs on top of that only accelerates the decline. The practical takeaway is not to eliminate eggs, but to be mindful of how they're prepared and what they're consumed with. Low-heat cooking methods, combined with fiber-rich vegetables and healthy fats, can help reduce AGE formation. When dietary choices are made with an understanding of these underlying biochemical processes, it becomes easier to preserve muscle, slow aging, and protect long-term health. The gut microbiome, a vast and dynamic ecosystem of bacteria residing primarily in the colon, plays a central role in nearly every aspect of human health, from immune regulation and metabolic function to nutrient absorption and even mood. But its influence on muscle health is often overlooked. When we disrupt the delicate balance of gut bacteria, particularly through the regular consumption of refined sugars and ultra-processed carbohydrates, the consequences ripple outward in unexpected ways, eventually undermining the body's ability to preserve and build lean muscle mass. One of the first casualties of a poor diet is microbial diversity. A fiber-depleted, sugar-heavy diet encourages the overgrowth of pathogenic bacteria and suppresses beneficial strains like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, which are involved in the fermentation of dietary fiber and the production of short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs such as butyrate. These SCFAs are not just byproducts of digestion, they are critical signaling molecules that reduce inflammation, maintain the integrity of the gut lining, and improve metabolic efficiency. Butyrate, in particular, has been shown to enhance mitochondrial function and reduce muscle atrophy by dampening systemic inflammation and supporting anabolic pathways within muscle cells. When the gut microbiome is damaged, what is commonly referred to as dysbiosis, the body becomes less efficient at absorbing key nutrients necessary for muscle maintenance. For example, vitamin B12 and iron, both found in eggs, are essential for oxygen delivery and energy production in muscle tissue. However, a compromised gut environment impairs the uptake of these nutrients, even when they are present in the diet. Over time, this leads to subtle but significant deficiencies that weaken muscular endurance, decrease performance, and reduce recovery capacity. Moreover, dysbiosis contributes to increased intestinal permeability, commonly known as leaky gut. This condition allows endotoxins like lipopolysaccharides, LPS, to enter the bloodstream, triggering an inflammatory cascade. Chronic low-grade inflammation fueled by this mechanism can directly impair muscle protein synthesis and accelerate catabolic processes. Essentially, the body shifts into a state where it is constantly breaking down tissue faster than it can rebuild it. There is also growing evidence that the gut-muscle axis is mediated by microbial metabolites that interact with hormonal and neural pathways. These compounds can influence insulin sensitivity, cortisol levels, and even the production of anabolic hormones such as testosterone and growth hormone. A well-functioning microbiome can support a hormonal environment favorable to muscle growth. In contrast, a disrupted microbiome leads to hormonal imbalances that tilt the body toward muscle loss. So when eggs, and otherwise muscle-supportive food, are consumed alongside processed carbs and sugars that promote dysbiosis, the net effect is not just metabolic disruption, but a gradual erosion of the systems needed to preserve muscle. The body, in its intricate design, depends on harmony between organs and systems. When we disrupt the gut, we don't just upset digestion, we compromise immunity, energy production, and the very scaffolding of our physical strength. And that's why attention to gut health is essential in any discussion about muscle preservation. Making a small but intentional change in how we pair our foods can create a profound ripple effect throughout the body, especially when it comes to preserving muscle mass. Eggs, as previously discussed, are a rich source of bioavailable protein and critical nutrients, but the benefits they provide depend heavily on the metabolic context into which they're introduced. By replacing refined carbohydrates and sugary foods with whole, anti-inflammatory ingredients, we dramatically shift the hormonal, inflammatory, and digestive environment of the meal. This seemingly minor adjustment can help prevent muscle degradation, improve metabolic efficiency, and protect against the progression of chronic disease. When eggs are consumed with high fiber vegetables like spinach, kale, or broccoli, the fiber slows the absorption of nutrients, stabilizes blood sugar levels, and prevents the insulin spike typically seen with refined carb intake. This matters greatly as lower and more stable insulin levels reduce the body's tendency to store fat and break down muscle. These vegetables also bring along phytonutrients and antioxidants that actively reduce systemic inflammation, protect mitochondrial function, and enhance muscle recovery. Moreover, greens and cruciferous vegetables help regulate estrogen metabolism and support liver detoxification, factors indirectly related to muscle health through their effects on hormonal balance. Adding healthy fats, such as those from avocado, olive oil, or nuts, further enhances the muscle supportive environment. These fats improve the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, all of which play supporting roles in muscle metabolism, bone strength, and recovery. In particular, vitamin D, often found in eggs and better absorbed with fat, is essential for muscle contraction, immune support, and cellular repair. Healthy fats also contribute to satiety and help balance energy intake throughout the day, preventing the kind of overeating and energy crashes associated with high-carb meals. Fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, or kefir are another valuable addition. They introduce beneficial bacteria that support a diverse gut microbiome, which in turn improves nutrient absorption, modulates inflammation, and enhances the hormonal signals that govern muscle protein synthesis. When these foods are combined with a high-quality protein like eggs, the entire digestive and metabolic system functions more efficiently. The body becomes better equipped to build and maintain lean tissue while simultaneously reducing waste and inflammatory burden. This food pairing approach doesn't require restrictive dieting or obsessive calorie counting. It simply involves understanding how different food components interact biochemically. Choosing vegetables and healthy fats instead of refined carbs with eggs transforms a common meal into one that supports longevity, strength, and resilience. The real power lies in this conscious decision-making, selecting combinations that promote healing over harm, nourishment over indulgence. Over time, these consistent choices lead to measurable improvements in muscle tone, endurance, recovery, and metabolic health. It's not about dramatic overhauls, but about mastering the fundamentals of nutrition, recognizing that every meal is either an investment in muscle preservation or a withdrawal from it. And with something as foundational as breakfast, this choice becomes even more powerful.